statistical, so unpredictable, here on SNL Stats.
That is right. We are back with another edition of an SNL Stats Roundtable. I cannot believe it is the finale roundtable that we have made it here to the end of the season. My name is John Schneider, guys. I am so happy to be talking to you about Saturday Night Live and everything we saw this week with Anya Taylor-Joy and Lil Nas X. And I'm going to break it all down with an incredible panel. If you want a little bit more of an enlarged discussion on what we saw on Saturday nights, this is the show for you. And I'm so happy to be talking to this guy, Dave Buckman, who joined us for our very first show at the end of September. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So Dave is the man from Cold Town Theater in Austin, Texas. He is so great about everything Saturday Night Live. He knows his stuff. He's so familiar with sketch and improv. And if you haven't seen Dave on Anya podcast, he really knows what he's doing. So Dave, how's everything going in your life?
Everything's going great. Cold Town is getting back into business with some in-person classes and shows. So we're just glad to be back into the business of making funny again.
Yes. I'm so happy to hear that. And actually, guys, I have to tell you a little bit of a vax update. I got my second vaccine today, which is really, really awesome to do,
nice.
To be able to announce that on the finale roundtable. Hopefully I'll make it through this show and be perfectly okay. But I'm really happy I got that. So, also joining us, her name is Nicole Rovine. She is one of my favorite people that I was introduced to this entire year. She came on board with us. She runs all of our marketing. So if you see the incredible things we're doing on Twitter and Instagram, that is Nicole, and she's here to talk about Saturday Night Live. Nicole, how are you?
Well, what an introduction. Thank you. I am great. I mean, my health update is any New Yorkers will know exactly what I'm talking about. The allergies right now are insane. So, I mean, I might have to do a sneeze count for myself for the podcast, just bear with me. Otherwise, I'm great.
Yeah, and in the pre-show, Nicole had to move from one location to another, so she's a little out of breath. That's the reason
the
why.
Adrenaline, I'm kicking you guys. The energy's going to be through the roof today. Trust me. Stick around.
Okay, that's what we need. Speaking of energy, we had a lot of people on the podcast this season, and this guy came in and he blew it away. If you haven't checked out our That Damn Michael Che coverage, he was awesome on this coverage, and everyone who spoke to me about the show was like, oh, you got to put this guy in a round table, and I'm so happy we did. TJ Randolph is here. TJ, how are you?
I'm feeling blessed, black, and highly favored. That was, I love me some compliments. I'm a words of affirmation person. You just gave me energy for a whole 24 hours, John. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited to talk some SNL.
Yeah, well, TJ, you are good enough, smart enough, and people like you. So that's what I have.
Don't stop.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about what we saw on Saturday night. Let's get into it. So, like I said, on this show, we're gonna break down a little bit more in more detail everything we saw. So it is our finale. Dave, it's been a while since we heard from you. What were your overall thoughts? What were you looking for heading into this finale?
Heading into it, I just wanted a good send off. I love when they send off Kristen Wiig with Mick Jagger. I love when they send off Phil Hartman with Chris Farley on his lap. I just like those big, huge send-off ones. The band from a couple years ago when Sudeikis and Armisen and Hader all left. So I feel like we got little pieces of that here and there. It wasn't like a big send-off, because usually in those when Tina leaves and when Jimmy Fallon leaves and they do the Grease musical number. That's what I was hoping for, was some sort of closure on some of these longstanding cast members. I think we got some, but not all.
Yeah, so this is a really weird thing, and Nicole, I'll bring you in for this, is that obviously the general public, when they're watching this episode, are thinking to themselves, who is leaving the show? That's the number one question on everyone's mind is, are we going to get a goodbye sketch or is there anything that's going to give us an indication into who is going to leave? And as far as, SNL stats and everything that I have heard, it sounds like right now, no one is leaving by choice. And that may change over the summer. Of course, decisions can be made. The production can change their mind. But it seems like the door was opened a little bit from certain cast members. So, Nicole, tell me what your thought process was about, the cast members leaving and your thoughts going into this finale.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as Dave. I really wanted something heartwarming. I'd say one of my favorites would be Jimmy Fallon and Tina. I love that duo. So the fact that they did something together was really cute. So I love that whole big goodbye. But I mean, there's something to be said for this speculation. So I people have fun with it. It's making the show more relevant. If we knew who was leaving, we wouldn't be talking about it for days and days. We would say, oh, that was a great send-off. And then we would revisit the great thing on YouTube every now and then, but we wouldn't be so invested right now in the way that everyone I know, people who love SNL, people who don't even think about it that much, everyone that I talk to who's into entertainment is talking about who's leaving. Was that a send-off? Was that this or that? So it's not what I wanted, but it's sort of what I'm happiest with. And I'm happy that we're all kind of having to speculate this summer. So I feel good.
Yeah, TJ, can you give me a little bit of like the counterpoint? Like, is it a shame as SNL fans that our focus of this episode is like who's going to be leaving instead of maybe appreciating this episode? I don't know. Like, tell me your thoughts.
I think that's a fantastic question to ask me to do the counterpoint. I think we're completely biased because we're literally on an SNL coverage podcast. So no, I don't think that's crazy at all for like SNL fans to want to know, like, is this Cecily's first and last time dropping herself into a vat of wine? Like, does that mean that she's going to be like leaving us? I don't think that that's crazy to obsess about.
Or you don't have to give me the counterpoint, TJ. You can just tell me your thoughts, but I was just curious if you agreed.
You can just agree with me. We can all agree with Nicole if we want.
You can agree with Nicole. That's totally fine.
Now I just want to be difficult. Like, so the reason why Nicole is wrong is sometimes there's actually, yeah, I'm gonna see it. Like, let me pretend to disagree with Nicole. The reason that she's wrong. The reason that Nicole is wrong, I just really like saying that for some reason, is because if we have some idea of finality, I feel like maybe we can appreciate more of what we have to look forward to, and we're not going to get these awkward news breaks in like August and September that are intentionally going to be used, like the Leslie Jones announcement or the Taron Killam and Jay Farrell announcement of like, oh, hey guys, just a reminder, SNL's coming back at some point. Like that, I don't want that to be the first thing we think about when we think about SNL. I'm going to be thinking about 4 months without like new SNL. And I just want to know, like, okay, like who's going to be like hosting, and I want to like see the show, I don't know, just come back. But it's always weird to think that like the first things we come back to when we think about SNL in the late summer is the tickets going up and who left. It just feels like a weird way to start thinking about the show again.
Yeah, Dave, I want to give you the final word on this before we start getting into the episode. But I said last week on the podcast, I really argued, and this is how I personally feel. I really feel like if somebody wants to leave the show, they should just tell us before the finale so we can enjoy it and appreciate it. I've always maintained that, and I think it's something that's changed somewhat over the last few years. But clearly we didn't have that, and I just want to know from you, final word, does the speculation over who is leaving take away from a finale episode of a Saturday Night Live season?
I mean, going into the future, looking back on this episode, you're not going to remember that this was a finale episode. You're just looking for an old Saturday Night Live to watch and the sketches. And sometimes those sketches should reflect just what was happening. Not really. I mean, in the long run, who cares? They're all going to be successful. They're all going to continue to do comedy. We're not going to like lose Melissa Villaseñor forever. We're probably going to see her on another awesome show, or get to go see her live. So it's not like we're saying goodbye to her. But at the same time, I wish they had done something like the end of season 11 and made fun of the whole thing and just like put them all in a burning room and like some of these people will come back next year. We don't know. And not be as malicious as they were to that cast. But it would have been fun, kind of like, because they know the speculation's out there, and it's, it would have been fun to see them poke fun of that a little bit more. But yeah, I don't see why Cecily would do a number like that if that wasn't her last show. It doesn't make sense to the character of Jeanine Pirro to sing "My Way" in a big box of wine for a big grand finale, other than she drinks wine. But it doesn't It doesn't make sense of a sketch.
I know that in the segment list that I sent you guys, I usually have, discussions about the host prior to getting into the episode, but I do really feel like there was a clear distinction between the episode we saw and the cold open itself. So let's start with the cold open. Let's talk about what we saw, because it really felt like a summary of the entire season of season 46. It was a good way to close that chapter. And I'll start with you, Dave. What were your impressions? We open up and we see these 4 veteran cast members, Cecily, 80, Kate, and Keenan. What were your thoughts when you watched this, what I remember, cold open?
I mean, I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody, every SNL fan. I got just as emotional as they were. I mean, they were emotional and I was emotional and I got choked up watching it. And especially when Kate broke with that lump in her throat. I mean, the entire nation broke with her. I mean, they got everybody, right? And put their arms around each other. It's just exactly what we would have wanted. I mean, that felt like a finale kind of moment. You know what I mean? Even though it was at the beginning of the show, it just felt like, yes, this is the end. This is the conclusion of this crazy ass year. And what a great way to get everybody in there, to get everybody singing line from New York, and to feel like that family, and really solid jokes too, really solid bits. It didn't feel like thrown together. It felt very heartfelt, and it felt like we had all gone through something together, not only as a cast, but like as a community of SNL. We went through this whole crazy year together, 2 years together, and I was very grateful for it. I love getting emotional at SNL things. Sure.
Yeah, I loved it, and it was funny too. And like that's really what you want in a cold open is the emotion, and it was funny. So Nicole, I'll ask you, give me your thoughts on this particular cold open, because we could have gotten anything. We could have gotten Biden, finally some type of sketch there. They could have gone in any direction, and instead they decided to really make this a meta moment for the cold open. So what were your thoughts?
I agree. I loved it. I'm very grateful that they didn't make it political, presidential, anything like that. It was so great, and we know that they wrote it pretty late in the game compared to other cold opens, and so I think it was purely from the heart. It wasn't something that was meditated on over the week of how are we going to spin this political moment. I mean, the contrast between this and the fall, when everything was basically just verbatim, all these crazy debates, the comedy wrote itself. So to think how far we've come in the year is crazy. The things we were talking about then versus now. I'll also say how beautiful it is that 3 weeks in a row we've had these live from New York's with, I think every single one has had at least 16 cast members in it. Is that right?
I believe you are right.
I think it's 16 minimum for 3 weeks in a row. And so it's unprecedented, I'm pretty sure. And so just to be prioritizing that sends a really strong message of togetherness and how we're coming back not only stronger, but really stronger together. It was just like, that might be my favorite thing about how we're treating cold opens right now versus how we were treating them in the fall. It's just the mindset around them, and even how we were transitioning from the fall aggressively political ones to the Britney hosted. Those 2 Britney ones with Chloe Fineman leading were excellent, and they were a little political but also a little playful, and we have come so far in the year, and so these last 3 feel really like a sort of just a celebration and honoring everything we had to do. We had to cover those debates and all that stuff. We had to do it, and this is sort of a sweet reward for that.
For sure. And TJ, I think that there's no better way to have done this than having Chris Rock there, which was really cool. It was really symbolic that you took the first host of the season, and it really felt like you could take the book of season 46, start at chapter 1 with Chris Rock, and then have him there for the final chapter. I just felt like there was so much good in this.
I loved what Chris Rock said, where he talked about how crazy the year was because he said he wanted Kanye West to be the musical guest, but he couldn't do it because he was running for president. And I sometimes forget how insane this past 15 months has been, in a statement like, oh yeah, Kanye West chose to run for president. It's just, wait, what? It just guys, that really happened. I know we're doing a coverage, but that really happened. Okay, I'm sorry. Kanye West ran for president. That's all right. Anyways, and we still don't have an album. Anyway, so that drove me crazy. I really, if I'm going to be completely honest, I really connected with Keenan when he said, well, it's been a great year for me, but I'm trying to keep that under wraps and not tell people. And I kind of had a similar experience. I've had a pretty good pretty good year, but I'm not supposed to share it. Like I'm supposed to have like shame about it. But I came into this wanting to cry. Like the minute I see like Cecily and Kate and Lakina and 80, I was like, all right, I'm a man, but I'm a man who can cry. Like I wanted like full on man tears, like from like such an emotional. But like the lovely thing about SNL is like even when Miley did the singing a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh, this is gonna cause something. I'm well up. When that like hit, it's always broken by the joke, and it just reminds you like this is still supposed to be funny and heartwarming rather than just like sink you with like pure emotion. And I felt it was so heartwarming, and I think the thing that was the most heartwarming thing about it was Kate reminded me of something that 80 has done for her and Cecily for the past like 8-9 years. There was an old interview where Cecily talks about 80 makes her break all the time. And so ever since then, whenever you see Cecily and 80, or whenever you see Kate and Cecily paired together, 80 always does something to get one of them just to mess up a little bit. And it's really cute and it's really funny and really adorable. And seeing Kate full on break when 80's talking about, I remember someone saying that if you held your breath for 10 seconds, you might get COVID. And 80's delivering it so sincerely that Kate breaks. I laughed my ass off. And I also just thought this is really cute because like it felt like there was such a finality. Like if you want to see the finality to this episode, you can. Like, and granted, that's going to be broken in 4 months. But there was something so earnest about seeing like Kate appreciate like this might be the last time you make me laugh on live television.
For sure. And I think that, we talked a lot about the protocols. We spoke to members of production like Don Roy King on our podcast this season, and we've heard how different it was, the lack of after parties or the amount of times that people could spend in writing rooms compared to other seasons. But for anyone who knows, like you go off to camp for the summer, I'll say, for example, or you go on a trip with some people, when you experience things in a really close way, it bonds you unlike anything else. And we talked about how many cast members there are. Well, if there was ever going to be a season with this many cast members, I think you couldn't find a better way to bond them together than this shared experience of being on Saturday Night Live during the COVID season. So I think you see that in this cold open.
I was in Boom Chicago during 9/11 at the time and directing that cast. And I mean, talk about bonding a cast. We were like, across an ocean from America at the time, but we were still doing sketches about American life and American politics at the time. And I mean, that whole experience was completely bonding. It's because you're creating comedy and you're like almost like first responders in terms of comedy, that you have to be responding to what's happening almost in real time, but with a comedic take on it, which is not easy to do when something's so new and so weird and so unprecedented.
Speaking of first responders, can we talk about how I would have felt so disrespected if I saw somebody reading a medical textbook while I'm trying to do a show? The level of disrespect. I can't even. I just can't.
I don't know. I mean, they're prioritizing their jobs, and in this time, we got to honor that, respect it, And they said, whoever it was, 80 or Cecily, somebody said, maybe it was 80. Maybe that wasn't the best idea, but it got us a really great joke for the finale. So that guy was studying up so he could save people's lives, and we got a great joke at the finale. So I'm not complaining.
That is such a glass half full look at it. And I'm like, I want to like, but that's a really good reasoning. Darn it, Nicole. That's really good.
I feel a podcast rivalry brewing over here. I agree with you guys for sure. And as Dave mentioned, when people go back in 10 or 15 years and they look at this, experience in our lives going through the pandemic, you could definitely look at a million things. You could look at sports, you could look at the news, but looking at comedy and the culture of comedy covering the pandemic, I think Saturday Night Live is a major part of this, particular time in our lives. So it's certainly really fascinating to see them cover it in this way. Let's talk about, this particular episode. So Anya Taylor-Joy, we got that announcement a few weeks ago that she was going to be the season finale host. And I think a lot of people were surprised because they felt like, why now? Why not earlier on in the season? This doesn't feel like a season finale host. But I thought she was pretty good. So Dave, let me ask your thoughts. What are they on booking Anya Taylor-Joy, and how do you think she did overall?
She did great. I can't wait to see her again. I think, she's funny. I think she was stepping on, she's starting her lines of dialogue sometimes under people's laughs, which kind of like swallowed the tops of her lines sometimes. So it would hurt the rhythm of the comedy, but she was still great. If she can learn how to work that live audience just a little bit better, but I loved everything that she did in the show, and she seemed game. I think it was a smart choice. I mean, you want to have Keegan, Michael Key, who's full of energy. He's going to bring the house and bring the energy. But at the same time, he is king of that show. Keegan Michael Key is going to be king of whatever show he's on. And so with the amount of finales and goodbyes you might want to have, I think it makes a lot more sense to have somebody like Anya Taylor-Joy who's going to be game and just kind of like be in whatever sketch you tell her to get into and learn this part and just kind of blend in with the cast a little bit, which she did brilliantly, I thought, and full of energy and really, really wide range of characters too. So I enjoyed the hell out of her.
So I see that point, but I do want to ask you, and you specifically being on this particular show with us, a lot of people were craving for Jason to host this episode. Obviously the attention, it would have been a very different episode if Jason was the host. So do you think that, I know you're a big Jason fan and have worked with him before. So do you think that this was the right direction for the show to go in?
Yeah, Jason should be hosting a Christmas episode or a Thanksgiving episode. Jason's a very humble guy. He might not ever want to host SNL. I mean, maybe, I'm sure he does. Who wouldn't want to at some point? But he's also the kind of guy that's not going to be in a rush to. He's going to do it when it's right and perfect, and it's going to be easy for him to do it and want to do it and has some time off. Ted Lasso's coming back at the end of the summer, and I'm sure he'll be an even bigger star come Emmy time. So I'm sure maybe we'll see him around. Maybe we'll see him around the Emmys. Who knows?
Yeah,
but
that would be exciting.
I just want to see a two assholes sketch again before I die.
Oh man, I'm dying for that. Okay, so Nicole, let me ask you, Anya Taylor-Joy, what were your overall thoughts on her performance, and then really the booking of Anya Taylor-Joy as the season finale host?
Okay, so we got the announcement. I was very disappointed. Like, it's hard to believe because I loved her. I was so happy with it. But at the time, we talked about it. I was disappointed. I wanted someone who was familiar, not just to me, but to the culture of the show. I really wanted Emma Stone because Cruella de Vil is coming out. That was my number one choice. It would have been her 5th time, right? So that would have been wholesome to me, which is funny because I'll get into this, but Anya sounded just like Emma Stone when she did Baby Spice. You could have closed your eyes, looked away, or it was her. I was convinced it was her, and then I was reminded that it wasn't. But anyway, I wanted something wholesome, like a Jason or Emma Stone, or really Scarlett Johansson would have been great, particularly if it was Colin's last show, which remains to be seen. But then it really hit me leading up to the episode, and then especially while I was watching, that this booking was perfect because she blended in so well. That's the best word to use, is she blended. She didn't need to be the center of attention, but she still was very captivating. Like, scene stealer wouldn't be the right term because she was very happy to let, for example, 80 be the scene stealer when they had a lot of their sketches together. But she still was captivating. As the doctor in the dad sketch, she had so few lines, but she was really impactful in grounding that sketch. And yet she was, she didn't take away from Beck's Thunder, who made me, like, I watched that one more than any, and I will continue to. He killed. I loved that one. But yeah, she was great. She blended in well. She seemed humble and excited to be there. I thought it was going to be Carey Mulligan vibes, who disappointed me in the sense that she just kind of seemed like she was there to do her job. She did everything right, but I didn't get this sense of enthusiasm from her, or humility, gratitude. Which, nothing wrong with that, it's great. She was up for the Oscar. I'm a little surprised she didn't win, but so I was expecting that, and then over the few days in advance, I was thinking, okay, maybe not And then she was perfect, and we'll get into it more, but my 2 cents is I apologize to her, I was wrong about her, and I thank her for a great finale.
Good. Okay. I'm glad she exceeded your expectations. TJ, are you a Queen's Gambit guy? Like, what were you thinking going into this finale?
John, my guy. No, I'm not a Queen's Gambit guy. No, I'm not a Queen's Gambit fan. I'm not an anti-Queen's Gambit or nothing like that. I just didn't watch the show. Nicole, you're literally echoing every note I took about like what I was gonna say. So like I think honestly, every season has like I'm a very big pop culture kind of guy, especially with like actors and like comedy. Like I'm really good in trivia. I'm the guy that people want to like have take care of like who are like the actors, musicians. Like I'm really good at like knowing those names. But every season of SNL, there's 1 or 2 hosts that I either ask I ask 2 questions. 1, who is that? Or why are they hosting? Every season, there's always one. And I thought this season, it was almost Regé-Jean Page, but then I looked him up and it's like, oh, the Bridgerton guy. I know why, because that show's really popular. Boom, that answers the question, why are you hosting? But like the who is that, we got almost the entire season. I was like, okay, I know Keegan-Michael Key, I know Nick Jonas, I know I know Issa Rae, like I know everyone, cool. And then the last announcement, Anya Taylor-Joy. Who is that? I had no clue. But then I saw Lil Nas X and my attention was completely taken because I am a gigantic mega Lil Nas X fan, but I'm going to save that for like a whole different other thing. So when I saw this, I had no clue who she was. Like Nicole said, I wasn't disappointed. I was upset. I was like, why is she hosting? She's not a megastar. She's not a showstopper. But I was talking to a friend and they were like, oh, dude, she's like really famous. And I'm like, oh, yeah, but I don't know her. And so I was being kind of like a bit stubborn and a bit of a butt about it. And then I listened to you guys and somebody was like, oh, maybe if you have Keegan do this, he's going to take all the attention. If you have Jason do it, he's going to take all the attention. And then I thought, like, my only other question I answered is, as Nicole said, I was thinking because you have Cruella coming out, it would have been a fifth time hosting. Why the frittata is Emma Stone not hosting the show? It makes no sense. She's the female version of what Adam Driver does to the show. And I don't mean exactly, but you guys, in terms of energy, what they bring, like, why was Emma Stone not hosting the show? I was so bugged by this. Lil Nas X being on there was my only saving grace. And then you guys, somebody said like they're probably having like her host so she doesn't completely overpower. And it makes a lot of sense because if we look at this episode, we have like all the big ones like Pete, Cecily, 80, Beck dominating. And like this wasn't one of those earlier shows where we have like all the cast is kind of equal. This was a like, like our bigger players are like, we're letting them take the stage like for this. And it was just it was such a good choice. And I feel like she did such a great job. And I had a low bar set, but I thought she was a really great, like supplemental, supportive, or like a good straight woman to this. And she was funny. She made me laugh. I keep thinking about in the Brar sketch when she says breasts. For some reason, the way she delivered is the funniest thing to me. I don't know why. And I remember she completely like won me over. And it's so funny because sometimes you can get an SNL host that you're just like, you're crossing your arms. You're like, yeah, I'm going to watch it because I'm loyal, but I don't want to watch it. But like, I just realized like how dumb it is. Cause like all these times, like people are going to try. I mean, I don't know if Carey Mulligan tried that hard, but like you said, Nicole.
What's the Carey Mulligan hate?
No, honestly, like Nicole said, she's my
I love that episode.
No hate.
I love that episode.
I think it's just because I had high hopes because I just watched Promising Young Woman and the song when I won't spoil the ending, but the song when the most important scene happens, I'll say the most important scene in the movie became my anthem. You'll know what I mean if you've seen it. Okay, and I was like, okay, she's awesome. She's going to win her Oscar. She's on this great. The timing's perfect. Yes, give me everything, Carey. And then she gave me enough. And I didn't like that.
Okay. So let me just summarize. So
enough.
Okay.
I didn't like that.
Okay.
No, I'm with you. I was amping. I was like, Carey, this will be great. And then she just kind of, yeah, come on, Carey.
And then Frances stole her thunder and won the Oscar. If Carey was more enthusiastic at SNL, would she have won the Oscar? Let us know if you think so. I do.
Are you enticing the listener?
Yes. Tell us. DM me.
Call to action.
What you think.
What a call to action.
I want to know.
All right, let's get into the episode. Let's talk through the season finale, guys, before this goes too off the rails. So, Dave, I will start with you. Yeah. Give me a sketch that you would like to talk about.
Oh boy, there's so many good ones. There's so many good
TJ.
ones.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think the one I liked the most. You know what? I would like to talk about this college panel sketch because I think we're going to talk about some other ones, but I want to make sure we talk about this one because I think it's a very misunderstood sketch and I really loved it. And people did not get it or understand it, I think.
So what did we get wrong on Saturday night? Tell us.
This was them. This was about them. This is I don't know who wrote it. Do you know who wrote it?
Celeste Yim and Anna Dresden.
Yeah. So there's so many marginalized people in comedy that feel tokened and not seen and invisible and used in comedy troupes just because they're a woman or they're black or they're Asian or they're gay. And they have to kind of like represent unfairly. They can't just be a goof. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and they have to kind of like do the black sketch or the gay sketch or the woman sketch, and it's so not fair. And you have these college students who just want to be like these mindless entertainment. I could have been Entertainment Tonight reporters, honestly, too, just as easily been. But having this Pete character who get all the softball questions, who gets to have this whole range of personality. I just thought it was such a smart sketch, and they were so funny and so direct, and the way they just like attacked it was so smart. I think it's a sketch for and about comedians and performers, but and kind of like everybody has to be like in this diversified cast, and like why are they in these casts? Why do they have this diversity if they're not really exploring diversity? They're exploring otherness. You know what I mean? I just thought it was maybe one of the smartest sketches of the year that I think is very misunderstood.
That's a great point. And also to be able to talk about this, I'm happy that we have a little bit of a diverse panel tonight. So let me go to Nicole, a female.
Not unnoticed, John. Not unnoticed at all.
Exactly. So Nicole, let me, the female perspective on what you saw from this sketch.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I heard a bunch of people, college students, and I saw comments everywhere saying that this was sort of based on recent events, that if you've seen, Pete Davidson has spoken at every college campus in the country and beyond, it feels like, on Zoom, and everywhere I look, there people are posting videos of him. So if you want to see that content, go look for it. It won't take you long to find. But I heard there were other cast members on there too. He was doing a lot on his own, but I think there was this sense it wasn't just a wider commentary of patterns of more vague and frequent and common. It was also something very specific that was specific about this cast, and it felt like a commentary about Pete Davidson and his role in the media. I'm literally centering the narrative on him, which the show is parodying. Here I go, but it's hard and it's nuanced and it's hard to talk about. Dave, you did a really great job, better than I could do, but it's tricky, and the commentary was brilliant, and I think it was brilliant because it was personal. To your point, it was about these people. They weren't playing, like some woman in the 1800s who is writing a letter, the army sketches that Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Carey Mulligan did. They're not playing George Washington. They're playing themselves. Like Bowen Yang, when the camera cut to him, that was him. These are questions that's literally what they like make you. It was insane, but it's like you have to. It's like these are real things, and it was hard. And I give a lot of kudos to every single person who was writing the sketch, who was in the sketch, played a version of themselves, which every single person on that panel played a version of themselves. I give a lot of props to them for having a very reflective moment and having to like face these gross questions in a way that is highlighting them, hopefully for the rest of us to see in a more clear way that this is what it's like being a comedian, being a public figure. Reminds me of Hollywood Dish, but in a more nuanced way than Hollywood Dish. But yeah, you did the best job talking about it, Dave. That's my 2 cents though.
TJ, we've had a discussion over the last few weeks, like Nicole brought up, about about, Chris Redd, how he's put online a lot about him being cut out of, bylines and stuff like that. And I think that is something that happened in reality, which is, them deciding to take Chris Redd, he's clearly in the image of the sketch, and then they don't put him in the byline, and they decide to put Pete Davidson's name in there. And I think that may be where the seed of this sketch emanated, in addition to people's personal experiences. So let me ask, what were your thoughts on the sketch?
So I want to add something to what you guys said, because Dave, Nicole, and John, I agree with everything that you guys said about, you feel like this is about performers. And I think that you're all correct. The thing I want to add that I noticed is the shade I can give to it. Rolling my eyes when I say this, as a Black person, whatever, is the shade I can give. Like, I am, okay, all right, so I'm Black. I can't really change. It's not like something it's my whole life or whatever. So everything I hear or understand is through like the lens of a Black man. I have heard every comment or take on like the Black experience that you can think of, because that's just what I've grown up around. So whenever it's touched on like a really fun way or like a heavy way, I've pretty much like seen the take. But there's something about like, I can only speak to the Black experience. There's something about the Black experience that gets so annoying. Matter of fact, there was actually like an article about Lena Waithe, about like a similar thing to this. There's this thing about like the Black experience where it feels like the only successful Black stories, or the ones that get like the attention, are the ones where it's like, hey, you heard how difficult it is being Black? Man, I heard how difficult it is being Black. I heard it's trash. Oh, snap. Here's an Oscar. Or like, hey, like, let's like make sure like Ava DuVernay gets like her like, I don't know. It feels like, slave stories about discrimination, growing up in the hood, how difficult it is to be discriminated against, difficulties with interracial dating, like all this stuff, like adversity. I don't know. I think about it all the time. So sometimes when I'm looking at a Black entertainer's like voice, that's not the thing I need to hear them say. I want to look at a Black Jeopardy and like have these jokes about jokes about like a TV that like is perfect on the floor or something like that. Like I want those takes of like the Black experience that aren't completely flipping depressing. It's annoying. It honestly, it makes me so angry, because I'm like, I've already heard this. I'm not I don't need to be Black explained to, but I also understand that there are people now where it's like, it's popular to be Black, or it's popular to be diverse or whatever. So there are plenty of people who don't get those takes on things, who need to watch an episode of Blackish and be educated on something, or need to watch Fresh Off the Boat and then have Constance who explain something that like Asian people like already know. So I get that. The tough thing is like, they make those shows so darn good. I just got to keep watching. But the point that I'm trying to make here is like, the thing that I connected with was this annoyance that I see in interviews, where the amount of times I've heard someone who was from the LGBTQIA plus demographic, a person of color or a woman, or a person who is identifying as a woman, the amount of times in the past, I'd say 7 years, in interviews, I've heard someone say, I just felt like we really needed to be able to tell these stories. If I hear that expression one more time, like I just tell the story, because you're telling a diverse, I'm sorry, I'm getting into ranting. What I'm trying to say is, the thing that connected with me about this sketch was the irritation that like, if you have any element of like difference in you, that like, that has to be the complete angle. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be part of the angle. It's going to be part of the take. Me being Black, of course, informs me like, joining you guys for the that damn Michael Che episode. I'm Black, and so like I'm of course going to be able to add that level to it, and it's necessary, but it's not the whole thing. So the thing that like I really liked about that sketch was completely pointing out how annoying making your specific like demographic, your whole entity can be. But that was the thing that resonated with me, was my annoyance with those types of people and getting to laugh at those types of interviewers.
TJ, I am very appreciative that you said everything you said. I'm happy to be able to have this conversation, and it's good to talk about. So let's move on to the next sketch. Nicole, what sketch would you like to talk about?
What I like to talk about? Okay. There were so many. That's the thing is sometimes I know so clearly. This is a little, but I love so many, and I'm just gonna go with the dad one. The what's it called? Prom picture. I don't know what they titled it, but I just am very excited to see this rise of Andrew Dismukes. I think we can all feel it. It's bubbling under the surface. We're so excited, and it's like I'm so tempted to say the next John Mulaney, or I'm tempted to say a cross between Kyle Mooney and Pete Davidson, and that's just so reductive. I don't want to say that. I think he's going to become his own star and his own niche person. It will be John Mulaney in the sense of, I don't think he's going to transcend the comedy world the way Pete has, but I think if you're in the comedy world in 10 years, he's going to be very important in the way John Mulaney is important. And he wrote the sketch, just for background, if anyone didn't know, he wrote this, and this was the perfect SNL sketch to me. It was the writing shot off the screen. You could feel that some incredible writer wrote this. You could feel that there was great behind the scenes collaboration with the directors and the camera and everything, which is great. And then the casting, all down to the casting, like Beck, Dad Beck is my favorite Beck. He can do anything. He's so versatile. Dad Beck is like the only Beck I need. I could watch Dad Beck forever. And 80, I love 80 and Beck together as a couple. They're always really funny together. Heidi as the kid, and then Andrew Dismukes as this like cool, suave 17-and-a-half-year-old dude who, like, it's a new role for him, and yet it's him, so it's funny. So this, for me, the casting, the production, the writing, all amazing. What I said about Anya, how she had this role that was just very grounding and a great host role. And I don't know how Andrew Dismukes, I'm giving a lot of credit to him in addition to the acting, the casting, the directing, but I just thought it was very nuanced, and it points to me to how he will be important in comedy, because he can teeter that line and talk about things that people don't want to talk about, that are hard and upsetting, but he can do it in a way that it's escapism, it's commentary, it's everything, and so in a more serious way, I'm really excited for this guy. I have huge hopes for him.
For sure. And Dave, I know that you have a relationship with Dismukes, and obviously have, or at least had conversations with him prior to him being on Saturday Night Live. So what was your opinion on this? Because I think this was the best we've seen of him, and it's clear that he has a very bright future at the show.
Yeah, Andrew used to play, he did stand up in Austin for a while, and he played our theater, and his girlfriend Allie went through our classes, was a huge performer at our theater as well. This was my favorite Andrew thing of the season. I really liked his update piece last week too, but there was a new confidence in his acting, which I hadn't seen yet, which I was so excited about. He's even done a movie with a lot of Austin folk called Call Me Brother. And even this sketch, I think, was his best acting yet. He was confident. He was like kind of very masculine, which was really just solid acting. I think I want to maybe give credit to Heidi there too. Heidi had a couple line takes that were just like, God, she's such a good actress when she's yelling at her dad in the hospital. Oh my God, it was so funny. Oh no, when she goes, "Is my dad going to be okay?" She yells at the doctor. Just the trauma that's going on inside this teenager. Yeah, I thought it was such a great, and Midwestern Mom 80 is my second favorite 80, behind Preteen 80. So I love that as well. I just thought it was really well writing, and I love the escalation at the end when they're just like, "Yeah, we're going to, but you got it, sir." But no, yeah, we're totally going to, and they wouldn't give up on it, and it was just, that to me was my favorite part. But I think Andrew's newfound confidence, I wish he would bring that into his live acting as well. But I'm sure he will next year, as he gets more comfortable and more confident with that size of a live audience,
For sure. And TJ, I mean, I said on Saturday night that I really felt like SNL sometimes has a problem when they have two different ideas and then they put them together and it just doesn't fit. But with this particular pre-tape, I think that they could have ended it before the whole, yeah, we're still going to do it. And they could have ended it before that, and it still would have been great. But the fact that that part was also so freaking good made this pre-tape to me like an all-timer. So what did you think of it?
I thought it was a beautiful twist plus like John, I know you like a lot of escalation, and so like I know it's maybe not have been as crazy escalation, but I like that this was a great twist plus escalation because you could have easily done the bit of like, all right, so like they have the kids, and then the dad brings out the shotgun, dad shoots himself in the junk accidentally. Freeze frame, that's the Christmas card, or like that's like the postcard that the family chooses to send out. Like SNL's done like a lot of ending of sketches where it's like, this is our wacky postcard, and this is the family. Boom, that's the end. But to then turn it into an episode of Grey's Anatomy, which I don't know if it is because I don't watch that show, but like to turn it into this like insane like a medical thing where like Beck is like pleading on the bed saying, you're gonna be able to touch my little like to have him like pleading and crying. And then like to make that, you could have even still like maybe had something there, but then to like add this other, it felt like I feel like when I feel like comedy nerds are so, it's so easy for us to become jaded or like used to like, all right, I know the beats of where this is going to go. And that's the problem with being an SNL fan is because like, I hate when people say SNL isn't funny. Every now and then, like you like something, so stop it. But like every now and then you watch an SNL sketch, like a game show sketch, and you're like, okay, I know beat for beat where this is going to go. I love as a comedy fan when I am thoroughly surprised and shocked is like, wow, I did not see that coming. The shot in the nuts. Plus Andrew just makes me like, yeah. Like when he said, hey, remember when I I came shirtless you saw me shirtless in the kitchen drinking a Gatorade? Yeah, it was that time too. I'm like, bruh, like like I thought it was such an odd choice. In the 80, I mean, the truth behind like when 80 was like, they've been dating for 3 years, they've had sex. Like, I think your comment about like Midwestern Mom Dave is so perfect. Like, because Midwestern Mom 80 is a great 80. I thought there were so many elements of this that just tied it together beautifully. And even Anya Taylor-Joy, there was something really nice and like subtle in the way she delivered. Like, we're not going to be able to reattach it. I thought it was I just thought like, wow, these pre-tapes. Man, like how are they doing this in like this short of time? It blew me away. And as a comedy fan, I really like when you like knock me off my feet. So I was just enjoying it. I was having a great time.
Yeah, the word you said, subtlety, for Anya, I think was perfect because I think she played this so well. And I love the line where Beck goes, he's like, I shot my little dick with my big gun.
Only Beck could like nail that line.
Yeah,
it was such a Beck thing to just perfect. It was amazing. I'll also say, with your point about the subtlety with Anya, the whole back and forth of, but you're not going to do it, right? We're going to have to do it. We're not right. It reminded me of the oh man, I'm all out of cash. With speaking of Adam Driver and Beck and Kyle from what was it? It was a year and 18 months, 2 years ago, something like that. And it's this like. This Dismukes writing, but Beck delivery, and it's something that I think I've seen a few other times. That's the one that's coming to me right now. But they have this cool thing, and I think Dismukes is tapped in to. He just seems like an intuitive kind of guy, and I think people seem to just love. Before he was a cast member, like loved when he wrote for them. I
think Dismukes is like, well, we already know he's gonna like blow up.
Yeah.
There was also something so wonderful. I want to make sure I describe this correctly. Oh, okay. All right. Not so wonderful. There was something that reminded me, this might be a bit of a deep cut, look who I'm talking to. What am I talking about? This might be a bit of a deep cut, but when Beck is pleading, there's an old Late Night with Seth Meyers bit. He used to do this thing called Second Chance Theater where he would try to redo rejected SNL pitches. And he did it maybe like 5 times. And there was this Andy Samberg sketch where Andy Samberg had this character about this guy like who always wanted to come with. And his whole thing was like, you guys want to come with though? You guys want to come with? And like the way Andy delivered that line reminded me just of like, I know that the two have nothing to do with each other, but it just reminded me of like the way Beck was delivering that like pleading with them, reminded me of that Andy Samberg like bit from Seth Meyers.
Yeah, that's a great point. TJ, let me go back to you. Is there another sketch that you would like to talk about?
Let's go joke swap. Okay. All right. So I think the videos I go back to the most are Colin Jost being forced to be racist. I've gone back and watched that clip of him making that Scarlett Johansson, Sammy Davis Jr. joke so many times. And that was only, 6 months ago? I've gone back to that so many times. The joke swap.
That was the best one ever.
It was
That was
so
the best one
great.
ever.
Just and so like I was just just like it's so excited and amped to see like how is Michael Che gonna get Colin Jost canceled and like but like in the fun kind of canceled. Um, I I thoroughly loved the joke about Superman. His kryptonite is an honest day's work. I grew up on like Chappelle Show, Living Color, a lot of like really great racial comedy. And I know I just did this whole like rant on race, but like if I can laugh about it, it makes me feel better about things. So when Michael Che does this to Colin, it is like we get Christmas twice a year. It's great. So I had so much fun with it, and also something about a black man pointing at himself, smiling, saying, "Good job keeping our streets clean, boys. Blue lives matter even more." Oh, because like Mikey Che approves. Like I I think I texted the Instagram and I don't know who like if it was like you or Nicole who like hit me back, but
It was me.
I was deceased. Like I passed away. The fact that I'm alive before you today is shocking.
You came back just for the podcast.
Dave, I really feel like if there was ever like Che and Jost gonna go on tour, they could like sell out stadiums just based on joke swaps. They could do that the whole night and it would kill.
Yeah, they're both great stand-ups in addition to being great joke writers too. So
Yeah. So what do you think of this?
I loved it. I love it. I look forward to it every half season. My wife, who I usually have to like cue through the bad sketches for, it's one of her favorites too. She loves roast jokes and she loves this as well. She loves their interplay. She loves both those guys. Yeah, I just thought it was a great run out for them, and of course we were all looking forward to it. And it's a shame they couldn't land on it, but you know you're not gonna do a joke swap with a wet desk full of prop wine. So of course Cecily going out last makes more sense. But it was a great build, and I love that they hit that Superman thing 3 times, which is great. Yeah, it was really solid jokes. I always feel bad though, because it's a straight up Colin Reed's racist joke, which is basically jokes Seth can't tell. Same kind of bit too, right? But I think this is the first time that I really felt like, ooh, Joe's got a couple good ones in on Che too. I feel like Che usually gets off way more scot free. It's not really tit for tat. It hasn't been until last night. But yeah, I wish there was more things. I think Joe's just finally figured out how to make Che uncomfortable, and that'll probably be the end of it.
Yeah,
Nicole, go ahead.
To that. So I actually put up a poll. This is what we were talking about, TJ. I put up who outdid the other and wrote the best jokes for Joke Swap, and it's still up. We've got a few more hours on it, but I think last time I checked, we were at 80%, 86% Che, and 14% Colin Jost. So, and I think I said to you, TJ, that without a couple of those like the Blue Lives Matter stuff, I think we'd be at like 97% Che, 3% Jost. Like Che just knows how to. He has his thing, he knows how to do it for Jost, and he nails it every time. Yeah, the other my favorite part of it though was the Woody Allen one, and it was the reason I loved it was because they said the one thing we can agree on in this country, Woody Allen is innocent. And the reason I loved it was because I think my theme tonight is community and bringing us together, and that's something that I've just valued about SNL the last 3 weeks with the big live from New York's and that tone, and it's perfect because it's obviously far from the truth, but the one thing we can agree on is that he is effed up and he did a lot of things, and so that was kind of like a smart way of just saying something serious, that like there's one thing we can agree on, and it's that we don't really approve of Woody Allen. So I loved it. I would go to their show. I think not only could they make a show out of the joke swap, I think they could develop the concept into a sitcom, into a variety show, into a podcast, there are endless avenues for them to take this fundamental concept and blow it up. They could sell the rights to it. Like, they have a lot of opportunity for this. It's not just something that should, whenever they leave the show, that should end. It's something that they should make money off of for the idea, or have a career for the next 7-8 years of something specific that transcends update.
Reminds me of really with Seth and Amy, which comes back sometimes on Seth Meyers, sometimes on Weekend Update. It's just a thing that it's their recurring sketch.
It's their signature. Yeah. It's their signature thing.
I think this is more power, more kind of staying power in terms of, we used to get all the movies that were based on SNL characters, and this is different from that. But I think there's more potential for this to be in this cancel culture world. I hate saying that. I hate hearing it, but it's a genius way to be provocative, and I think it's a great concept that can be applied in more avenues. Really, with Seth and Amy is cute and fun, but it can stay where it is. It can stay when one of them hosts SNL, the other cameos, and they do it together every 18 months, whatever.
Wow.
Fine,
wow.
Cute. Oh, it's cute. I love it. Not even a hot take. It's fine. Just leave it at the update desk. It's great. But
just leave it.
It's great. You think I'm roasting? I'm approving.
Just dig your grave further, Nicole.
But I'm just saying, Che and Jost, I think they can sit on their butts and make money off of it. They can sell the rights to the idea for something bigger. There's a lot. How else could those jokes happen today? It's the best vehicle for these types of provocative jokes in the climate that we're living in. It's more brilliant. We love it. It goes viral. We love it, but it's more brilliant than the viral outcome actually gives it credit for. I think there's a lot that they should do with it. Really, with Seth and Amy is nothing compared to it. Respectfully.
Tell us how you really feel. Okay, so that was interesting. Let's stick on update. Let's talk about what we saw from Pete and Cecily. We could talk about them at the same time. So this was really great from both of them, because we talked about the cold open, and this will be the thing that I want to talk about. The cold open, we said, was so great because it was emotional but also funny, and I felt like we got the same thing from Pete's bit and from Cecily's bit. Obviously, Pete's playing himself, so it's a little bit different when he's talking about making fun of himself. He's saying his eyes look like they just woke up and he hasn't slept at the same time. There's things that are really cute there. The line from Lauren about it's good that SNL's kind of like AIDS. There was a lot of really cute stuff here, but then he also says, "I'm really grateful to be here, and it was an honor to grow up in front of you guys." I thought that was a really powerful line. And then when Cecily comes on later, even though she's playing Janine Pirro, and we've seen this before, the fact that she just put her all into it made you feel like there was more to this character than what we were actually seeing. So Dave, I'll start with you. What'd you think about the Pete and Cecily bits?
Thought they were both great, fantastic, really well done. I love Judge Janine Pirro's when she takes down Pirro, because it's one of my favorite Fox characters to make fun of. I think it's just I am weirdly drawn to Janine Pirro, in just a train wreck kind of way. I can't stop watching her when she's on. I will watch Janine Pirro, not for any of the content, just because I find her so fascinating a character of how she yells at people, and she's so odd duck. It's fascinating. It's a curious, anyway. And I love Cecily. Cecily's she is my franchise player. If I can make her stay on the show as long as Keenan has, I would. But I thought these were great send-offs for both of them. I 100% think those were intended to be swan songs, both of them. And I thought they honored both of their talents and their perspectives, and what they've contributed to the show summed up perfectly. And I loved both of them. That was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. TJ, let me go to you next. What were your thoughts on the Pete and Cecily stuff?
I like Pete in anything, but I felt like Pete is reliable whenever he does the stand-up stuff. I like Pete a lot. I've seen both of his specials. He's funny. We know what Pete can do. He's had an amazing season. I don't know if Pete has ever made me laugh as hard as he did. I remember watching him live that first time he did Update. And I remember absolutely, I passed away again. I've died a lot of times, you guys. but granted, maybe I need to go back and watch that because maybe it was just because the first time I was like, oh, this kid's going to be a star. Like you knew when you saw that like Davidson update that first time, oh, this kid has it. Like he's going to be big. And he is. I remember thinking it was really sweet and really touching, like his like kind of set off, it's been an honor. I thought it was good and reliable. It was cool. But Cecily is Cecily is amazing. But I realized something, you guys, while we've been talking about this, because I went to Cecily's page because I wanted to see if on her Instagram, like if there was any hints about her leaving, but she hasn't posted since like the 30th as of this recording. And the last thing on her page is that trailer for Schmigadoon or whatever, the thing she's supposed to be doing with Keegan-Michael Key. And so, yes, we're looking at this as this big Cecily like send off. I did it my way, and we could read it into that, and I think that it is that. But I also realize if she chooses that she wants to come back in this season, she could easily rope it back into like, oh, I just wanted to show off my musical talents for Schmigadoon. Like that just dawned on me. Like it could just be pressed more for that show. Now, don't get me wrong. Seeing her, seeing her get so much water, getting so much wine on Colin and nailing every single toss, especially that one last one where she digs it in. That last one, and she's like in the tub and she digs it in and like tosses it back, and it just Colin is drenched. Oh, Cecily can literally. She is one of like my favorite like all times. She's. I want to call her my favorite, but I'm not like 100. She's in my like top 3. Like definitely, she's amazing. But I think also just getting like Colin soaked so much, and at some point I was like, oh, you should do Che to equal it out. But no, Che stayed so dry. It was just Colin relentlessly getting soaked. Really cracked me up.
TJ, I was going to say the same thing. And that's so funny because I was rewatching this before for the third time I watched the episode. And I really just, the aim on Cecily to throw the glass and the wine just lands exactly on Colin. Like she must, I don't know if she practiced that or it was just like perfect luck, but that's like one of those comedy things that, you know, it's live television. And she just aimed at the wine, it was so perfect. I love that. Yeah. Nicole, let me come to you. What were your thoughts on our other update pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. It's kind of funny to think like it's good. It's nice that she's going out on this like overtly red wine energy. So I appreciated it. I did. And then as for Pete, I agree with what everybody said. The one thing I have to add is the Chrissy Teigen thing was interesting to me because that is the first I've seen, you know, the BuzzFeed articles or the People.
Can you explain this to me? Because I didn't get it, and I'm sure some of the listeners would like to know as well.
I got you. Okay. Yeah. So, I got it.
Break it down.
Enlighten us, Nicole.
Chrissy Teigen, well, here's the thing about her. It's sort of like a lot of people, I'm like what you said, TJ, I'm a huge pop culture person. I'm the person my friends text me and they're like, what's this, what's that going on? And I love to be that person who like is everyone else's encyclopedia of the day, and what's going on and what's current. And so the people like me, my friends, like we've all kind of not loved Chrissy for a little while, but no one wants to say it. No one knows how to say it. It's just this annoyingness. And then recently, certain things have come up that she was bullying. Old tweets resurfaced, which, I mean, that's been happening to a lot of people lately. But she was bullying people, and even it went so far as to kind of be implicit death threats. It was really dark, and it seemed sort of in this impulsive Chrissy Teigen tone, and I don't think that she was being serious, but it doesn't matter her intention in that case at all. It was really not acceptable and really traumatizing for the person it was directed towards. And so so it's been literally the last few weeks, really, people are kind of thinking about Chrissy Teigen in this different way of, oh, maybe we are going to start to say that she's not cool, or she's not everything that we say she is. And because she was just so glorified in the media for this authentic, like overly authentic and honest and raw, just realness that no one else was doing, because she's been warped by this culture that rewards her for being overly vulnerable and impulsive. It's going on with Demi Lovato right now too. Her dopamine
system. The Froyo thing?
Froyo Gate. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Girl, we can talk about that later. Oh my goodness.
We'll talk.
Yes, we will.
For the post show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like rewarding our dopamine cycles and messing them up, and so it it teaches people to kind of reward their own toxic thoughts and behaviors, and especially when you are that level of famous. So that's all to say, I've read some kind of not trashy articles, but not so much like cool, like deep dives into like, so the you know, it's been kind of bubbling up. And I think Pete's update segment was the most high profile takedown of Chrissy Teigen thus far. It's been bubbling, but that was the most high profile one. And I think that he, as he always does with everything, whether he pees in a bush or he says something funny or he eats salad or he eats pizza, whatever he does, it will make the headlines, which good for him. And I think he will be very impactful, and I'm curious to watch the rest of the kind of the way that this unfolds, because the trajectory before he made this update segment was hard to predict. I wouldn't have guessed it was going to be the takedown.
Wait, Pete peed in a bush?
No, I'm saying if he were to. Oh, no, I'm saying I always say this, like, you know, if he were to, like, you know, do random things that people do in their
I'm
saying just the general sense.
He's walking clickbait.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
somebody touched on that a few weeks ago about like how Pete is just clickbaity.
I think that was Jillian from Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, update to me was certainly fascinating. We definitely covered it Saturday night about how impactful it was. TJ, you said you wanted to talk more about Brar Barn, if I pronounced that correctly. What did you want to say about this one?
Okay, so I've been trying to figure out a way to classily discuss my association with this sketch without calling out somebody close to me. But there's a family member of mine who I know has struggled to find good bras because they are endowed, busty. They're very busty. And so like I've known this person like a long time, and I like we're very close, and so like I know their struggle like with this, and so it made me laugh because because of like that association, as well as like some like people I've dated in my life. So when they are showing bras like the load bearing wall, and it's literally 2x4s attached like to like some cups, I passed away again, you guys. I kept dying. Like I literally kept like I was deceased like this whole time. I know this is like a really odd connection for like a guy to like say. But it reminded me of like, oh, okay, so like I know I have some female homies and like people in my life that I know because they're busty have a way harder time finding a bra, and forget if it's cute, they just have a way harder time like finding one. And so like a sketch that kind of touched on like such an odd, obscure like thing that I might make not everybody might like connect with, but like for some reason I kind of like understood like why this is like also funny, just also like really cracked me up. Also, there was something about like seeing there was something like happened to Heidi when 80 was like grabbing Heidi's boobs. And like right at the last second, 80 double slapped her boobs, and Heidi flinched. You can see Heidi flinch, and I was like, "Oh, that probably hurt." Like, but I just thought it was really funny because, like, I think, like maybe in the dress, 80 did it, but Heidi didn't know to what level 80 was gonna do it, and so like it maybe caught like Heidi off of guard. So when she did the double slap on.
That's 80 trying to make Heidi break.
Yeah, I thought it was so funny.
That's 80 doing a little Horatio behind the scenes.
Exactly. I did write that down actually as the moment of that sketch, because the sketch in particular didn't do much for me, but that moment I thought was really great. Dave, Nicole, do you guys want to touch on this one at all? No pun intended.
So there's an interesting culture around like bras and boobs and like it in different kind of spheres. Like I'm Jewish and like a New York like Reform Jew, and there's this like culture around it, like with moms. Like I reference things too much on, I know, like random things, but Broad City, if you are anything like me and you're like whatever, like Broad City does this hilarious episode about this with like her mom.
You mean Broad City, right?
I was literally just thinking, I was seconds away.
I do. Good one.
Yeah.
But they like touch on this, and it's just it's a whole culture around like whether you know I'll get personal. Well, if it sounds funny, we'll keep it, and if it sounds off, then we won't. But like it's not just like your size; it's like your shape. It's complicated. Like so, you know, like I'm not like whatever. I'm not like huge, but it's just like the shape. Like most of my friends who are like the same sort of general size as me will wear like a tube top or like with no bra, like, and they're like, oh, I feel so liberated, I'm not wearing a bra. I love how this feels. I will never understand that. At my thinnest weight, whatever I weigh, it's just the way that I'm, the shape, not the size, the shape. Like, I am in pain if I'm not wearing a bra to sleep. I don't take my bra off until I go to sleep. Like, walking around in a t-shirt, like, it's a whole culture, and they kind of open the door to talking about it, you know? It's like, it's not, they literally said you will not get a single sexual feeling while you're in this store. That was a line. And it's true. It's like there's a huge conversation that can be had around this that is not innately sexual at all. It's experiences that are, part of it is kind of like people's relationships with like their mom or their grandmas, or like a maternal line of families. Like, my entire mom's line, I'm so sorry, Mom, but it's so embarrassing for you, I'm sorry, but like, we're saggy. Like, we're not that big, but we're very saggy. I'm so sorry. I love you. I'm in her room right now. And it's just like, it's good we have to like talk about it, you know? I wish I could relate to the feeling of being liberated without a bra, but it is something I will never relate to. And that's okay. I'm just grateful that 80 and Anya gave me the opportunity to say so. You know, I will not have that sense of liberty. That's fine. There was also, I'll say, just the line about Victoria's Secret. It was another sort of like secret, like an unspoken thing in society of, I know Victoria's Secret, and it's the fact that she doesn't know how to,
she's intimidated by me.
Yeah, thank you. She's intimidated. Thank you. And it's not, that's true. It's not just for people with bigger, who need bras. You know, it's like, it's this thing, like, they actually really, it's every, in middle school, that's where like all my friends went and everything, and it's like, actually, like, it's a little more complicated than that, you know? I still have a lot of old bras from Victoria's Secret, and I wear them, and they don't fit me very well, and I still wear them. This is so personal. But maybe it's not personal, because it's not innately sexual. So we should normalize this conversation in a very just non-sexual way, you know?
You're fine. Yeah, This was interesting. Yeah, for sure.
It's just a piece of clothing.
Yeah. Let's So thank you for that. Let's keep going.
Nicole will be hosting a seminar on women's sizing.
Look out for it.
Yeah.
College campuses everywhere. Pete Davidson is opening for me.
Okay. Dave, was there anything else from the episode? Any sketches that you just want to make sure that we cover before we move on?
I mean, the Making Man sketch I really loved. I thought it was really smart. It seemed like a sketch I wish I would have written. I think it sounds like something I would have written. And the Hollywood Squares was just fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I love a celebrity impression parade, and what they did with that was fantastic. I don't want to dig too deep into it. I just want to give shout outs to both of those sketches being excellent, making this a really, really great episode, not just in terms of emotionality, but in terms of content. Really up the game.
For sure. I would say to the point about the Hollywood Squares in particular, like I said, I rewatched the episode for a third time today. And what really stood out to me about that particular sketch, which I loved, and you can hear my whole opinion about it on Saturday night, but I loved Higgins in this one. If you are a Jimmy Fallon fan and you love the banter between Jimmy and Higgins, like, this was prime Higgins in this one, with the readings of the cards that came up every single time they had to cut somebody out of this original airing of Hollywood Squares. So that was really great. Nicole, was there anything else from the episode that you wanted to talk about?
So something about me, I really like, in general, with comedy, when they leave something to be desired. And with these, the Cut for Time, it was a little formulaic and everything, but I appreciated how there was something for everyone. So whether you liked the Queen Eye for the Gambit guy, or the Queen from Queens.
Sorry, I just want the listeners to know this is the backstage pitch Cut for Time piece that was placed on YouTube.
So basically, there were a bunch of different pitches about the Queen's Gambit. You know, whenever somebody comes in who is known for this one thing, there's this expectation of, what are you going to do? Like with Regé-Jean Page and Bridgerton, they played that up, and so they sort of parodied themselves of when someone comes in from this big crazy Netflix show, you're going to do something about it. So it's the sort of thing, I thought I wouldn't like it. I thought I would kind of think it was formulaic and cliche, which I do. But then I watched it a second time and I really liked it, and it's because of the something to be desired. It's because whatever you liked, it's like we can kind of end it being like, oh, I wish they did do the Queen's for the Gambit guy, or I wish they did Queen's Borat, or Borat Gambit, I don't know how, whatever. So like, I just like when we leave and we wish that we got something that we didn't get, and all of those ideas were stupid, but we all would have loved one of them. We wouldn't all have loved any, but we all would have loved one. And so the fact that they presented us as this gift, a little bit of all of them, we're all happy. We're all going to kind of dream up our own version of the full 3-minute, 21-second, whatever sketch of the whole thing. So I liked it, not just the sketch, but the delivery, the choices, the kind of BTS, everything about it.
Great. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, because that's a good one for people to go and check out online. TJ, I know you wanted to talk about Lil Nas X before we move on, so I'll just give you the floor for that.
You know I do. I love me some Lil Nas X, but while I could literally talk about him for this entire podcast, I do just want to, I figured out, okay, what's the way I can make it relevant for the show? Because not everybody is a fan. Lil Nas X was the reason I was excited for this episode. But the thing we could, like, I don't know if we can talk about, but the thing I wanted to like do digging into that I didn't get a chance to was, I don't know if anybody noticed it, but he had a wardrobe malfunction during his show. During the first performance of Montero, he goes up to do his pole dancing, which is the thing that, you know, has both gotten him lauded and canceled and other things, but who cares? He's great. He has 50 million listeners on Spotify. What are you going to do? He's amazing. And I just he like went to do a move, and then he like popped up, and you could see him actively make a face. And the thing to love about Lil Nas X is that he is able to not only take a joke, but he's able to poke fun at himself. He is able to have a lot of fun. So for the rest of his performance, he just leaned in like some kind of sexy pose, like up against the railing, and was still able to like deliver like a really fun like visual and everything, and like a song. But I remember like seeing that the first time. I was like, why on earth? Wait, what happened there? What? Why did he change his face? And it made me wonder. Like, the only other wardrobe malfunction I can ever think of is the one where a year or two ago, it wasn't really a malfunction. Somebody was trying to change 80 in a sketch, and like she got caught on camera, and 80 was like trying to like bat her away, and it was just like, it was really funny like little thing. So I just thought, like, I wonder if that's like that's had to be a thing that's happened in the live shows where there's been just like little like wardrobe issues like that. I thought that was I don't know, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I'd also add, I mean, you touched on it, but he came out when he was blowing up, and like that is so courageous, you know? I mean, I think most people who experience his level of fame and the reason that he's maybe he did that because he saw people who maybe came out 5 years after they blew up. So he said, okay, so, you know, then I'll be the next trailblazer, and I'll do it sooner, that much sooner. And it's just that was a risk. And he's open about that. He said there were people who told him not to. And it's just like, he's so inspiring and so himself, but he's so himself without kind of like acting like it was easy. You know, he's really honest, and he's aware of the impact he's having. And I don't think he takes the responsibility, frankly, lightly. You know, the role model that he is. I do think that the choices he makes around sexuality in his performances, I think it's intentional and it's mindful. You know, I don't think it's impulsive. I think it's beautiful and to be celebrated.
And if you want to see more or hear more from Lil Nas X, he's going to be on Jimmy Fallon's show tonight. We're recording this on Monday evening. So if you are seeing this, this will come out on Tuesday, so you'll be seeing this after the fact. Go back and watch Lil Nas X talk on there. So really commendable that the show had him on, and I'm really excited to see more from him moving forward. Let's talk about the cast a little bit. I'm going to go around the roundtable. Can you guys just each give me one person that you would like to point out that stood out to you from this particular episode? Dave, I'll start with you.
From this episode, that's a great question. I'm going to remember Cecily in that box of wine forever. I think that would be mine. I just loved her. And I didn't like the singing sketch that she did, the Irish one, so much, but it was pretty even cast across the board. So I mean, no one really like stood out as the MVP. I think the cast was the MVP. The cast unity and love for each other. So I'll just say Cecily because she's always my favorite.
That's so nice. Nicole, what about you?
Disagree. There was one MVP, and I'm so glad that she had this opportunity because she's great, and I can't remember the last time that she's the person I would have said, and it's 80. She was incredible. The range, she was in 7 segments, which is for a 20-person cast is amazing. I'm sure that Kristen Wiig was in around 7 every week when she was the only female repertory player at a certain time for a while. But for a 20-person cast, for 80 to be, I mean, she just she was like doing so much and so. In for the best, like she was not. It's not that because she was everywhere that she had to compromise. She was doing everything 100. I will say, a lot of those duo performances, she and Anya had 2 sketches that felt very Kate and 80, and so part of me wishes if it is Kate's last episode, which remains to be seen. I would have wanted, Kate to be in those special Kate and 80 moments that she would have had if we had a Jason Sudeikis host. Then those sketches would have been, well, they would have been written differently probably, but so I've never been more of a fan of 80 than I was this episode.
TJ, give me somebody from the cast that you would like to point out.
Nicole, I really like the way you think because you said everything I was gonna say. So. Because you took my actual pick, and then Dave, you took my other actual pick. I'm gonna give a shout out to Beck. Hearing him cry and plead, Beck. If Beck deserves the shout out in the way that we already know, he is time and time again has shown us what he can do. Me saying shout out to Beck that's not really saying anything. I almost don't like saying it because it's yeah, duh. But having him pleading as a father to not have sex with his daughter while his dick is actively shot off. Chef's kiss. And while I have to be completely honest, I did not like the Vin Diesel thing though. I didn't like it. But I think the picture with Dad was so strong that it completely beat out the fact that they wasted 4 minutes with this AMC theater. Even though Vin Diesel was good, that the joke was fine after maybe a minute. Just stop.
Yeah. For me, I think that if I was going to pick a top 3, you guys nailed the top 3 for me. I think I'll also just point out Dismukes. We talked a lot about him before, so I don't need to repeat all that stuff, but just really stepping up at the end of the season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in year 2. And I also really love Pete on Update. So just a couple of people that I would like to point out. So this is what we'll do to kind of cap off our show for tonight. We're going to be back next week with our recap of the entire season, but I would love to go around the panel and ask you guys for a final word on season 46, how you feel about the season overall and something that you're looking forward to seeing next year. So Dave, I'll start with you.
I think that overall, if this was any other year, it'd probably be a B season, but I think they get extra points for difficulty, technicality, as you would if you were a diver or a gymnast and trying something extra hard, which is to come back during the reopening of a pandemic when no one knows what the actual deal is with masks and vaccines and social distancing and all the rules. And, it's impossible to have something take up that much free attention when you're trying to be creative. And so the amount of excellent sketches that I'll be thinking about for a long time, they could easily create a best of episode back in the day when they used to make best of episodes for the season. They could easily fill up 2 episodes full of best ofs from this season. So lots of really fun, wonderful monologues, weekend update pieces, musical guests. I am anxious and can't wait for the cast to turn over and be handed on to the new generation. I'm excited for some of these people to go on and become alumni and come back and host. I can't wait for Kate to come back and host, but I think what they pulled off was amazing this year. Even though some of the live sketches weren't as good, I think, as I would have hoped. A lot of the pre-tapes, a lot of the monologues, and a lot of the musical guests were fantastic, and just enough really good live sketches to make me really appreciate what they pulled off this year.
Definitely. Nicole, over to you.
Yeah, so I think something that all four of us have in common is that one of the reasons we love SNL is that it's a time capsule, and we can reference old episodes, old sketches, old seasons to understand a time period, whether it was a month of a time that something, 9/11 is an example. I mean, rewatching then you kind of relive a certain moment in time that was a lot, or for more positive things, it's this intense. There's really nothing, no history book could compare to the visceral way that SNL can bring you back to a time period and empathize with yourself, at the time, or with the people who were living it in a more intimate way than you were, or whatever it may be. And so this season, in terms of a full-length season, is more than any other season I can think of the perfect time capsule. When we go from, again, to bring up what I said earlier, we go from aggressively political cold opens. We knew what they were going to be before they happened. If it was a debate or it was a victory speech, we knew what it was going to be. We knew it was going to be almost verbatim because the politics of our time are that crazy. And so just to blossom into the spring and to, it's just been beautiful. So in terms of the presidential race, in terms of the pandemic, it's all kind of been on this parallel track. And so I think that this season will be, in 10 years and 20 years and in 50 years, it's going to be something to really behold, and it's going to be sacred. And so I love it in the present, and I'm grateful that they worked so hard for people who are 2 years old right now and are going to want to understand and educate themselves, and also just connect with history and with pop culture from a different time.
Exactly. I am so with you. TJ.
So you said final thoughts on 46 and then looking ahead, what do we want? So my final thoughts were this was an incredible feat, no matter how much you enjoyed the show. Even if you are oh, SNL isn't funny, they put on 20 COVID shows, bruh, or sis, or they did 20 COVID shows. I think one of the things to appreciate the most about this season was in a time where studio executives, I want to say there was a time period, I want to say from April to about August, where TV and movie executives were oh, sugar, we can't make anything. So they were spacing out their releases for stuff. We didn't get new content of things, or we had I feel there was a small couple of months, I don't know if you guys remember, where Netflix, them releases was looking real thin. We didn't get new comedy specials. They were trying to stretch that stuff out. So when they got announced oh, we're getting new SNL, wait, what? There's going to be something new, something we love is going to be coming back, and it's not going to miss a beat. I think that's an incredible feat. And Ego has that joke about Lauren was let's go do comedy. I think it's an incredible thing. We will have such an appreciation looking back on this season, and there was a lot of fun. And I think that, granted, I also do want to shout out SNL Stats, because listening to you guys cover things also made this even more fun. It added to my fandom and love of the show. So it made the love of SNL even bigger. But and we had a lot of enthusiastic first time hosts. But somebody a long time ago mentioned about, John, this might have been you. There's a 46A and there's a 46B. And the 46A is when we had the Carrie stuff, and we got these. Beck Bennett talked about the 15-minute fly sketch, just the political stuff. The cold opens were just too long. Come on, stop. And then we get to see Chloe Fineman as Brittany opening up the show, and we get to see these silly we get to see the cast being silly in this latter half. And I feel the latter half of the season completely blows away the first half of what we got. And I just think I think overall it was a really great season. And there's a handicap because of COVID. I just think it's incredible, like what they got a chance to do.
So look, for me, I'm still putting my thoughts together on season 46. I'm going to be talking with 3 very special guests with next week about all of the, our favorite moments, or maybe our least favorite moments, everything to do with the season. So I will summarize the season next week, but I really did enjoy this finale. I thought it was one of the better finales that we've gotten in the last few years. So it was really great to break it down with you. I just would like to say, so I'm going to talk about what's coming up, what's the schedule is for SNL Stats. So like I said, next week we're going to have our season recap, our postseason show. The following week we're going to do By the Numbers show with Mike Murray. We'll break down the analytics of everything we're doing, and then we'll go to a summer schedule and we'll talk about everything for the summer programming over the next couple of weeks. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. We're going to do some extra coverage of different things and some fun activities throughout the summer with the fans. So I'm really excited to tell everybody in the community about all the SNL Stats that's going on, all the SNL Stats stuff that's going to be happening. Dave, I just want to say to you, number one, I am so appreciative every single time I get a chance to talk about SNL with you. And when I started this podcast at the end of September, you were one of the first people to reach out to me to say that you would participate in the show. And like I've been saying on the podcast, it really is, we're building this thing little by little, and you were there right from the beginning to help me do it.
Thanks,
so
man.
Really, season 46 means a lot to me because I started the show and you are a big part of that. So thank you very much for joining us again tonight. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
I will plug Cold Town Theater in Austin, Texas. COLDTOWNE. There's an E at the end for those of you that are listening on the podcast and not watching. In-person classes are back, but we're still doing some online classes. So if you want to take a sketch writing comedy class or an improv class from the comfort of your own home, you can do that. Check out Cold Town Theater. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. And I think we're also on Discord now here.
Oh, cool.
That's what the kids tell me. And if you want to follow me at Dave Buckman on Twitter, that'd be great. My goal in life is just to have more followers than I am following, and I'm really close right now. So if you want to bump
that
me
is
up,
an honorable goal. An honorable goal.
I won't follow any more than I'm following me. That's my rule for myself. So help me follow other people. Help me follow other people by following me. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Nicole, same thing goes to you. I'm just so happy to be working on everything SNL Stats related to with you. And like I said, you do such a great job on all of our social media stuff. So really, I encourage everybody, please subscribe to our social media so you can, give a thumbs up to all of Nicole's amazing work that she does for us. Where can people reach out to you?
Thank you so much. It's so much fun. I have just been so grateful that I think what TJ said earlier, my love of the show only grows the more I am a part of this community. And so just to you, John, thank you for, starting this whole thing and bringing all of us together. It's really, really appreciated. I'm glad we're taking a moment to just be, grateful as the season ends and realize that we've, season 46 has been so special in just the bringing people together. I keep coming back to that, but bringing people together in a hard time. And that's as true for the stats community and specifically. As for me, again, the SNL Stats Instagram and Twitter, DM me. John also will answer DMs there too. So I love hearing from everybody there. And then my personal Instagram and Twitter are at Nicole Rovine. So same thing if you want to reach out there. And yeah, thank you so much.
And then TJ, I am so thankful to have met you, that you have become a part of our community. You are like really a bright light. Every single week we put out a show, you always reach out to us and tell us how much you enjoy our coverage. So to have you a part of it is something that I really want to continue to do with a lot of our listeners. And you are a great example of why we should do that.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate that. I've been listening since, I think you guys did a couple of episodes, and then I was reading an AV Club review, because I used to read AV Club reviews as my supplement to watching SNL. Dennis Perkins gave you guys a shout out, and it was like, "Hey, SNL Stats, you guys cover that?" And I was like, "What is SNL Stats?" I clicked on it, and then from then on, you guys have become my supplement to the show. I'm very. It's really fun too, because I realize I don't need to think of myself as just a listener anymore. So it's kind of fun. It's all right, I'm part of the community, but I really just enjoy it. I really do. In terms of like what I have going on, I do have a couple of plugs. I'm working on a new podcast that I'm going to be launching in June, called Rabbit Trail, RABID Trail, where we spend 15 minutes trying to see how far away we can get with the topic. And then I also have two other handles, at Team Trashcast and at King Compliment. At Team Trashcast is my old podcast that I did for about a year where we talked about life in our 20s. It was really kind of a diary of my friends and I, built around segments. And we also used it as a reason to create fake audio commercials. And we decided to end that and focus mostly on making videos and then working on the new podcast we have. And King Compliment is just my own personal place you can interact with me, but you can follow at Team Trashcast and at King Compliment, both on Instagram and TikTok. And you can follow Rabbit Trail at We Are Rabbit Trail on Instagram.
Okay, well, for all the listeners, thank you so much. If you are a episode roundtable only person, I hope you're not. I hope you check out our other coverage. But if you are, we will see you in the fall for all of our awesome coverage of season 47. But I hope you check out everything else because we have a lot of really fun plans for that. So for everybody who joined us, who is listening to our show, thank you so much. We will see you next time and have a pleasant week ahead. Bye, guys.
But we're here for the numbers as well. So let's get statistical, so unpredictable here on SNL Stats.